Hey adventurers, we're back from Torrey Pines, so what did we think?
Well, okay, first I just want to preface this video in saying that yes, our original intent is to go to hikes that are not well known, and Torrey Pines is probably the most well-known hike in San Diego. But we had another hike planned for that day, and we've never done that hike before, and just things did not go according to plan, and I got a little frustrated, so we decided to do one of my favorite hikes, which is Torrey Pines. And we'll talk about why it's one of my favorite hikes, I guess, later. But it was great. It's a beach hike, so.
It's the greatest Plan B hike you could ever do. If anything, it's always going to be a great experience no matter what you do. So even though, yeah, we're focused on more on the lesser known hikes, it was nice to go to the Torrey Pines State Park and enjoy it.
Okay, so when we do hikes, we like to answer 5 questions. So the first one is it worth the money?
So it does cost about $20 per vehicle to actually enter into Torrey Pines State Park. Now there are going to be other parking lots closer to the state park as well where you could park. With that being said, I would say that if you have a large family or you have difficulty going and climbing up the hill, I would recommend $20 is definitely going to be worth it. With that being said, if you are up for a more strenuous hike up the hill, it may be worth it to save the money and try and find some more free parking, which might be around the park itself.
And just keep in mind too, if going up the hill would be too difficult for you, if you're gonna hike down to the beach, you will have to walk back up. So if you're gonna park up on the top near the visitor center, just pay attention to the maps and see which hikes will stay up in that area instead of going all the way back down. And for the second question, we have accessibility.
So I would say that the accessibility to the park is really dependent on how popular it is that day. So for example, in the summer, you're definitely going to have to fight with crowds who are going to use the parking spaces for the beach access that's around the park as well. So accessibility will vary depending on if it's a big weekend or maybe an off-season weekday.
Yeah, so I've worked at the San Diego County Fair before, and that's kind of like on the way back home from where I lived. And back then, because we're getting off and like having to get in traffic like 4:35, 5:30, it made more sense for me to just stop off and go to Torrey Pines and either hang out at the beach or like to do a hike and just to wait out the traffic. And so I will say there are times that you can find where it isn't as busy. Now these were during weekdays and weekends, but it was like around the time of traffic, and I was able to find one of the parking spots that's right in front of the beach that's free. But that definitely is not always the case. So yeah, I'd just say maybe you might have a little bit more luck going earlier in the morning. I'll have to verify, and I'll put it in a note somewhere that what time they open, if it's either sunset or if there's a certain time, and then the time they close. So you want to go kind of in those sweet spots of like right when they open or like a little bit before they close, and you'll find less people there, because if people are going to enjoy the beach as well, like if it's a good beach day, there's gonna be a lot of people at the beach, so you'll be fighting for parking spots.
All right, so our next question is in regards to the maintenance of the trails themselves. So what did you think?
I mean, so it's a state park, so and that they're pretty well taken care of. Since there's so many visitors, I think they have a lot of employees that are picking up trash, and there might even be a lot of like good Samaritans that if they see any trash, they pick it up. When we went, police car. So when we went, I didn't notice any trash at all. I usually do not have to use the restroom on the hike, so I will leave restroom reviews to Mr. Ryan Reynolds.
As a connoisseur of public bathrooms, I would say if you're going to use a beach bathroom, the Torrey Pines State Park is one of the top. You actually have individual stalls that you can utilize. There is an outdoor sink where you can wash your hands as well, and it's very well stocked with soap. So I would definitely say it is at the base of the hill is where we found those bathrooms. But as we headed up towards the visitor center was closed due to the COVID condition right now. So there are bathrooms, I believe, up there, but we didn't experience those, but I would expect they'd be the same.
So the next question is crowds. How crowded was it?
It crowded. To that, I will say it's always going to be, there will always be people at Torrey Pines, not only because of its close location to the beach, but also because it is a major tourist stop for the Torrey Pines State Park. So with that being said, I would not expect you to be alone at any time during these hikes, but there are a number of hikes up in the Torrey Pines State Park, so you can definitely spread out and get a nice calming hike even with people around, and be able to enjoy the view. And I don't think that the crowds really take away from the experience of the hikes. What did you think?
I agree that it's going to be crowded when you go, most likely. And the only way that the crowds really took away from our trip was because since we're hiking during COVID, having to like continually take on and off our masks, especially because I just have a thick mask, so walking up the hill was a little bit difficult breathing wise. So we did have to like step out to the side just so I could catch my breath, and it was just an inconvenience. It did not ruin the hike at all.
And I would like to say to that hill, I had to do the same, to take off my mask and get a little breather. It does a pretty steep incline for a period of time. So definitely, you're going to be exerting yourself for that hike up until you get to the top. And then once you're at the top, it's pretty even with some undulation.
Yeah, but so I would recommend, if you're going to go on the hike, in my opinion, you probably would want to bring a mask, just because, especially on the weekends, there's probably going to be a lot of people there, and it's hard to avoid everyone. Even when you're outside, you're pretty much standing behind or in front or next to someone most of the way up there. On the way down, it thins out, and everyone's going on their different hikes. So after that, it was a little bit easier, but there is the main beach trail too going down that most people use to take down. So just in my opinion. And then the final question is, what is one thing that you would like to take home from the hike?
Oh, I would say the experience is just seeing the Pacific Ocean from Torrey Pines. It is one of the highest points in the Del Mar area, so you get an excellent view of the Pacific Ocean, of the Del Mar beaches, and as well as the San Diego city proper. So just that view, it's legendary for a reason. It's a reason why people want to come to Torrey Pines from out of state to see the view. So if you're only going to have one hike staying here in San Diego, if it is Torrey Pines State Park, you're going to get your money's worth.
Oh yeah, that's the epitome of San Diego in one hike, I think, if you're visiting from out of town. And I have to agree with Ryan. My takeaway was that we got to see some dolphins from one of the lookouts that we were at, which is always very cool to see. It's a lot of people, so you can do a lot of people watching. There's birds, you can do some bird watching. Trying to spot anything in the water, whether it's a shark, dolphin, whale, etc.
Surfer struggling in the waves.
Yep. Yeah. Seals.
Yep.
It's a fun place to take your time, I think. Spend the day just enjoying the beauty. Not that you can't do that in any hike, but there's just so much that Torrey Pines has to offer to look at.
Well, and with that, we appreciate you taking time to watch this video. If you liked it, please give it a like. Also hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see videos like this. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.